People are losing it over Japan's new robots, and what happened at the IREX Expo explains exactly why. By now, most people think they have seen everything robots can do. Videos of machines walking, running, lifting, and even smiling have been everywhere for years. At first, those clips felt exciting. Then, they started to blend. A robot taking a few steps stopped feeling special. A robot waving at a camera stopped feeling new. Many people began to assume that progress had slowed, or that everything impressive was just clever editing and marketing. That belief did not survive the IREX Expo in Japan. IREX, which stands for International Robot Exhibition, is not a flashy tech show built for viral clips. It is one of the largest and most serious robotics exhibitions in the world. Engineers, researchers, manufacturers, and government partners attend it to show real machines that are meant to work, not just impress. This year, the expo felt different. From the moment the doors opened, the atmosphere shifted. Attendees were not casually walking past booths. They were stopping, watching, and staring. Something had clearly changed. The biggest reason people started losing it was movement. Not flashy movement, not exaggerated tricks, but controlled, purposeful motion that looked natural. Robots were not just performing one action and stopping. They were adjusting in real time. They were responding to uneven surfaces, unexpected resistance, and human interaction without freezing or resetting. This was not pre-programmed theater. This was adaptive behavior happening live. Several humanoid robots demonstrated walking that no longer looked mechanical. Their steps had rhythm. Their balance corrected itself mid-stride. Their upper bodies moved subtly instead of staying stiff. When they turned, their weight shifted naturally instead of snapping into place. For many viewers, this was the moment where the brain struggled to separate machine from biology. It was not perfect, but it was close enough to be unsettling. Hands were another shock. For years, robotic hands have been one of the hardest problems to solve. Gripping is easy, dexterity is not. At IREX, multiple robots displayed hands with complex articulation. Fingers moved independently. Pressure is adjusted based on the object being held. Some robots could pick up soft materials, rigid tools, and delicate components without switching hardware. Watching a robot hold something gently, then apply force only when needed, made it clear that fine motor control had reached a new level. What made these demonstrations even more powerful was the lack of showmanship. Engineers weren't hyping the crowd. There were no dramatic countdowns or loud music. Robots simply worked. They lifted crates, they assembled parts, they assisted humans without stealing attention. That quiet confidence made the impact stronger. When a machine does something impressive without asking for applause, it feels more real. One of the most talked about areas of the expo focused on collaborative robots, often called cobots. These machines are designed to work next to humans safely. In the past, safety meant slow movement and limited strength. At IREX, that trade-off looked different. Cobots moved faster while still responding instantly to contact. If a human stepped into their path, the robot adjusted smoothly instead of stopping abruptly. This kind of behavior requires advanced sensing, fast processing, and reliable control systems working together. People also reacted strongly to how robots handled mistakes. When something went wrong, the robots did not shut down, they corrected. A part slipped and the robot adjusted its grip. A surface shifted and the robot rebalanced. These small recoveries mattered more than perfect execution. They showed that robots were no longer fragile systems that failed at the first surprise. They were becoming resilient. Another reason the expo went wild was context. These robots were not presented as distant future concepts. They were shown as solutions for real problems Japan is already facing. Labor shortages, aging populations, and demanding industrial environments are not theatrical issues there. Robots assisting in warehouses, hospitals, factories, and public spaces are not optional experiments. They are necessary tools. Healthcare robots drew intense attention. Machines designed to assist nurses and caregivers demonstrated lifting support, patient transfer, and mobility access. The movements were slow, controlled, and clearly built around safety and dignity. Watching a robot help support a human body without jerky motion changed how many people thought about automation in care settings. This was not about replacing compassion, it was about reducing physical strain and injury. Industrial robots also showed a new level of intelligence. Instead of repeating a fixed task endlessly, some systems could adapt their workflow. They recognized different objects without reprogramming. They adjusted the timing based on human pace. They communicated status visually and audibly in ways that made sense without training. This reduced the barrier between human and machine, which is one of the biggest challenges in real-world deployment. Behind all of this progress was software. While hardware improvements were obvious, the real leap came from perception and decision-making systems. Robots were seeing more accurately, understanding their environment better, and choosing actions with greater confidence. Cameras, depth sensors, force feedback, and AI models worked together seamlessly. The result was behavior that looked intentional rather than scripted. People also noticed how calm the robots felt. In earlier generations, machines often moved with sudden starts and stops. At IREX, motion was smoother and more predictable. This matters because humans trust consistency. When a robot moves in a way that feels readable, people relax around it. That emotional response is critical for robots meant to operate in shared spaces. Another factor that fueled excitement was transparency. Many companies openly discussed limitations. They talked about battery life, cost, maintenance, and training requirements. This honesty made the achievements feel grounded. Instead of promising everything, they showed exactly what worked today. That approach built credibility and made the progress feel sustainable. The expo also highlighted how Japan approaches robotics differently. There was less focus on spectacle and more focus on integration. Robots were not presented as replacements for humans, but as partners designed to fit into existing systems. This mindset shaped how the machines looked and behaved. They were designed to be helpful, not dominant. As news spread online, clips from the expo started circulating rapidly. Viewers who were used to dismissing robot videos paused this time. Comments shifted from skepticism to surprise. People started asking real questions. How soon will this be available? Where will this be used? What jobs will change first? That shift in conversation signaled something important. Robotics had crossed another psychological threshold. It was no longer about whether robots could move. It was about whether people were ready to accept them as part of daily life. IREX didn't answer that question completely, but it made it impossible to ignore. The machines on display did not feel like experiments. They felt like early versions of something inevitable. Around 60% into most conversations about this expo, people reached the same realization. If progress continues at this pace, ignoring robotics is no longer an option. This is where attention matters. Staying informed is no longer just curiosity, it's preparation. If you want to understand where technology is heading and how it will affect work, safety, and daily life, now is the time to pay attention. This is also the moment where liking, subscribing, and staying connected actually help, because missing these shifts means falling behind them. As the expo continued, discussions moved beyond hardware and software. Ethics, responsibility, and regulation became part of the conversation. When robots become more capable, the stakes rise. Questions about accountability, safety standards, and social impact followed naturally. The fact that these discussions were happening alongside the demonstrations showed how mature the field has become. What shocked many first-time attendees was how normal everything felt by the end of the day. After hours of watching robots move, assist, and adapt, the initial disbelief faded. What remained was acceptance. When something extraordinary starts to feel ordinary, it means it's here to stay. By the time the expo closed, one thing was obvious: recognition that a line had been crossed. Recognition that the gap between concept and reality had narrowed. Recognition that the future had arrived quietly, without asking for permission. What happened at IREX was not a preview of tomorrow, it was proof that tomorrow has already started.